Okay, well, here we go. This is The Laughter Effect, a podcast exploring how laughter supports well being, connection, resilience, and joy. I'll be talking with people around the world who study, practice, and lead laughter as a way of caring for ourselves and each other. Let's slow down, breathe, and laugh together. Today, I am joined by the incredible Lotte Mikkelsen, a true pioneer in bringing laughter, joy, and holistic well-being into workplaces and everyday life around the world. Lotte is the founder of United Mind, an organization she launched back in 2002, so over 20 years ago. And through so much experience delivering laughter yoga and well-being workshops to teams and businesses across the UK, at the heart of United Mind's work is empowering people to embrace positive change, improve communication, reduce stress, support mental health, and laugh. Lottie's own journey is remarkable. From her early entrepreneurial ventures to becoming a laughter yoga master trainer, she has dedicated her life to making laughter accessible to everyone, regardless of background, age, or ability. She's pioneered daily laughter sessions by phone, coached countless individuals and teams in confidence and stress management, and trained teachers who continue spreading laughter's benefits around the world. Her mission is simple: to enrich lives through laughter and joyfulness. And today we are diving into her story, her work, and how laughter can profoundly shift the way we live, work, and connect, especially in the context of life's biggest realities. Welcome to the show, Lotte. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much, Jenna. That was quite an introduction. I was like, is that me?
That's you. You've been busy. You've been busy.
Yeah, do you know what? You forget, don't you, sometimes the miracles you've helped people create or achieve in their lives.
It's incredible.
And it's not like I take credit because I'm just the person pointing people in the right direction and they make the choices. That's what we do, isn't it? And
Yeah.
here we are. You're a laughter person. I'm a laughter person.
And for those of you who are tuning into this on the Laughter Effect podcast show, this is also a double podcast with the podcast called We Are All Dying. So this is a special episode. We will be talking about some themes around loss, grief, death. So just a heads up for that. But we're also talking about the very powerful activity of laughter and the ways in which it helps us through those. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there so no one's surprised when those topics come up. But I would love to know if you can remember an early childhood moment around laughter. Do you remember how laughter was a part of your childhood? Or maybe it wasn't, because for me, it really wasn't.
Oh. It's really interesting you asked that. I don't think anyone has ever asked me that, really. And it's interesting you mentioned as well that your childhood wasn't full of laughter and so on. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, we had so much laughter when I grew up, and I just forgot when I grew up. The thing is, because I was the littlest one of three sisters, and I think I was always trying to get their attention and be jokey and foolish and all those kind of things. And the interesting thing now you're saying about the memory, it's like I don't remember my childhood as being a bad one. It was a good one, yeah. But those moments where there was lots of laughter, I think I was always chasing after my sisters to be, can I be with you? Can I be with you? So I was always chasing after that. But I remember, leaving school. School was like really a million years ago. It was in Denmark. And so we go in the same school from year 1 to year 9 or 10. It's the same school. We don't change to primary and secondary school like we do in the UK. So I was with the same friends for 9 or 10 years in school. And we met after, oh gosh, it's a long time ago, 25 years, where after we finished our school years. And so 25th anniversary of leaving school. And we were doing that, when you do that round of what do you do now? I think we were about 12, 14 people, including two of my favorite teachers from back then. And so we were talking about, what do we do now? And I said, I teach people to laugh. And it just went completely silent. And I was like, oh my God. And then one of my old friends said, of course you do. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Yeah, you always used to have a laugh and a smile and so on for everyone. I was like, gosh, I forgot that, because you forget those moments of laughter and you have to really dig deep. But I know there was a lot of laughter because we played a lot of games, card games, and we played a lot outside the children and in where I lived. And my mum used to, whenever we had a birthday and we had the class home for birthday, my mum used to come out and we used to do these like kiddie games, like, um, what they're called. I don't even know what they're called in English, but like children's games and so on, where we would run around and sing and dance in circles and so on. It was just tradition. So I know there was a lot of laughter, a lot of games and so on, but one particular one, it's a bit difficult. I just think it was happy and it was fun. And when I think about now, my mum is just my hero, yeah. And when we get together, there's so much laughter, and it's like silly moments, and it's where, oh, did you mean that? No, and misunderstandings that are not serious, but just those moments where we just laugh a lot. Recently, I was in Denmark celebrating her 90th birthday, and my sister came over from Perth, and I mean, we just laughed so much. My mum was on the phone at one point, and she had to hang up because we were laughing so much. And so, I mean, it goes through. I think I don't know if it's a family thing that you have a lot of laughter in your family, or what it is. You just
Yeah,
take
it's
those moments,
interesting
don't
how
you?
you're sharing that because I think I might be breaking some cycle of not having laughter. Like I had a wonderful childhood. Like my family is fantastic,
Yeah,
but similar, I was the young one and I was always just trying to make people laugh and being silly and not taking things
yeah.
seriously enough. And I, always had to sort of calm down and stop being so silly. And but I mean, now I think I do see my family laugh more. Um,
Yeah,
I think just because one, once a couple of them reach retirement, you can just ease back a little bit, right? Like life
mm,
allows you
yeah,
maybe some of that space. And I think we're lucky now that, mental health is such a focus. And so people aren't
yeah,
just focused only on work and only driving themselves in that direction, but they're
yeah.
trying to find some joy before they retire because the time after that is so short.
Yeah,
Except for
and
your
you
mom.
know that is so true. That is so true. And you see a lot more people who are retiring early, and it's also when you hear stories of people who had a heart attack and like before
Hmm.
50 and so on. It's really sad, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that make people think, those things happening make people think and wonder again about, should I retire early? And there are lots of people who are also looking for other ways, and they come to laughter yoga as an opportunity to maybe create a little part-time business or so, and slowly replace the job,
Yeah.
because it's so joyful, it's so cheerful, isn't it? And we
Yeah.
just forget it when we grow up. We become these, instead
Yeah.
of
It's honestly, it's the greatest gift.
it is.
Okay, because there's so much to your story. I'm wondering how how we do our starting point here. I guess we can go back and forth in time. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to share when laughter yoga showed up for you and why you were drawn to it? And then what kind of like led you to be a leader in laughter? You've devoted your life to this. This is something
I
that is,
know.
your primary passion, and I can very much relate to this.
Yeah.
But I'm always so curious, like, how did other people kind of arrive here?
I know, it's so exciting, isn't it? And it's really lovely to speak with you because I know how people in my network here in the UK, people who trained with me, how they arrived where they are now, most of it. But to actually know other people's stories outside of the UK, because it's so inspirational, and it's what drives us to do something maybe a little extra, to transform a little bit more, maybe, and to let go and ease into the present moment instead of chasing after, whatever lies ahead, because we don't know, do we?
Yeah. Mhm.
So I'd love to share how I got into
Yeah.
it. I'll see if I can make it short, because it's all back in the late 90s. In 99, I met someone who traveled out to India, because he wanted to do something a little bit different and start a laughter club in Copenhagen. And so he traveled out to India to train with Mina and Kataria. I didn't know anything about it. And when he came back, he kept like pestering us all, yeah, saying, "Oh, you should come to the Laughter Club. We're laughing every Thursday." I was like, "Oh God." I didn't have time for it because I come from a background in technology and corporate businesses, and my daughter was little, and so I just didn't have time to go out on a Thursday evening. And he kept going on, and then eventually he said, "I'm organizing World Laughter Day." It was the first time World Laughter Day was celebrated outside of India in January 2000.
Oh,
It was back in those days where it was still celebrated on the first Sunday in January. Now, as I'm sure you know, it's on the first Sunday in May. Yeah?
yeah.
But so he said, "It's a Sunday. You should come. It's going to be fun. It's center of Copenhagen." Okay, fantastic. Thought I could bring my family. And coming into the center of Copenhagen, it was in front of the city hall,
Yeah.
and there was almost 10,000 people there. And I was
You're
like,
kidding.
"What?
Wow.
No." There's a really famous picture taken from the top of the tower of the city hall, and it's just showing this crowd that's filling up the space. It was
Wow.
amazing, and I thought, "What?" And I actually thought, why did I wait all this time? Why didn't I go to his laughter club?
Yeah,
But again, I thought it was, oh God, it's just a fad,
totally.
Yeah. So when I got in there, I thought, wow, this is what I'm meant to do, yeah.
Yeah.
And because I got into technology, although I really love it and I really enjoyed it back then doing the work, I still had a thought that I'm going to do this until I figure out what I really want to do.
Yeah.
And coming into that World Laughter Day, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm meant to do. And I
Yeah.
really felt it like, oh my gosh, I want to do something like this. And
You know what?
that,
I want to pause on that for a moment because I think
yeah,
it's so important that for anyone who hasn't felt that or has felt
yeah,
it, it is a real feeling. It is a feeling where it's like a full body experience and
yeah,
nothing even has to have really happened. You didn't do anything. You just showed up, you saw it,
yeah,
you experienced it, you felt it, and you just knew within you this is my calling.
yeah,
And
yeah,
because I want people to find that for themselves. And maybe someone's listening right now and they think laughter's their thing too. Or maybe they're
yeah,
doing something that doesn't feel like that, or it doesn't feel like that
yeah,
anymore. And so I think because one of the things that we're trying to do is also get people to connect to joy outside of just
yeah.
laughter, but finding a place where you feel lit and excited to do the thing every day. So I'm glad you kind of explained it as that moment for you where you were like, this is it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's and I do think a lot of people do go through the motion of thinking, I'll do this until I know what I want to do, and so on. And they just forget because they get so lulled into that career they're building and so on, and suddenly realizing, oh my gosh, I'm 5 minutes away from retirement. And is this really the life I was dreaming of? And that's where they start looking. And it's a little bit late, isn't it? It's not too late. And that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's never a too late when it's to do with laughter and laughter yoga for that matter. So
Yeah.
I just love it. And I love that moment where it was like, it's almost like an epiphany, or that aha
Yes.
thing that happens. Yeah, the what is it we call it? Enlightenment laughter. If there's ever such a thing.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
Yeah,
I'm gonna weave this a little bit into some other parts of your story, and ask you about death, if that's okay.
that's
And
okay. Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah,
and this might seem strange for people listening to think because it seems like such a different end of the spectrum, laughter and death. But I'm hoping that what we can show you today is they actually can coexist, and they're a very nice melding actually of allowing us to
yeah.
witness and be with our grief and our loss while also with joy. So I'm going to ask you your earliest memory of death and when you remember as a young person that death existed, whether it was maybe a pet or a family member or maybe even just the changing of seasons. How did you come to know that death existed?
Yeah, do it's an interesting question, and it really does tie in with laughter because I feel in our laughter community we do so much laughter, yeah. And I feel sometimes it's like people are avoiding to feel the other things, and to be a good facilitator or teacher or facilitate, if I can get the words out, facilitator of transformation and helping people get to where they want to be in life. We really need to embrace all we are, and that's warts and all, or whatever the expression is. I think that's British. I'm Danish, so I just throw them in there. But we need to embrace all the sadness, the anger, the joy, everything we are, and all that stuff in between. So crying is not the opposite of laughing. It's just like a continuum, a wave that happens. Sometimes we need to cry and sob before we laugh, and vice versa. But on the other side of tears, you have laughter, more laughter. And the thing is, you can't laugh your grief away, no matter what people say. You
Mhm.
have to cry your tears. So my first memory, that's actually from my school. I had a teacher I really liked back in year 1 and 2, and he got really ill. I think he had a kidney condition or so, because his skin went yellow, and that was kind of a sign of that also. That's what I remember about it. I was really young, yeah. But I remember because I really liked him, and all of us really liked him. He was an old man, yeah, but he was such a good teacher. And he died in, I think, in year 2
Wow.
of our school years, and it was such a sad thing. And I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral because, being a little child and so on. And there was many of us who didn't go because we weren't allowed. After all, it's your parents' choice, isn't it? But so just sitting with the grief and hanging out with my best friend at the time, also just walking around the schoolyard just crying as we pleased.
Wow.
so so it's interesting because I haven't really spoken to anybody about it. It's just one of these things that happened. And then we got another teacher in his place who nobody liked. So it was kind of like that anticlimax to grieving over the loss of a really good teacher. And he was very well liked by other teachers as well. So it was just a huge loss for the whole school and the community that really was the school. I
Yeah.
do remember my school years as very good because we had such a good uh, friendship in our class. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Do
we
you
still
think
meet up, by the way.
I love that. And this is the first time
Mm,
I've because I've asked this to, hundreds of people. The first time that someone's mentioned a teacher, and I wonder how, having a full class of people who've had the same loss and even a community of a
yeah,
school, that's really unique because oftentimes our first loss is kind of isolated, either within the family.
yeah,
It could be just three or four people that even understand the loss, or nobody even. You might be
yeah.
alone in it. So, how do you think that shaped or yeah, how do you think that played into your feelings around that grief at the time, having that many people, as maybe you've had other griefs or losses in your life?
Yeah, do you know, I think for us in that class, I think it connected us even better and so on. And yet, it's back to that thing about, when people start saying, "Oh, get over it, you cried enough about that," yeah. But there were still tears for some of us, and so on. And no one can ever tell anybody, stop crying, you've cried enough about it, because as long as there are tears, there's grief to get rid of. And it's said that we need to cry 300 to 400 hours minimum when we lose a person in our lives.
Yeah.
It's a lot less when it's pets, which I think no.
Yeah.
But the tears, of course, don't have to be cried all in one go, like 300 to 400 hours of tears, yeah. But it comes and goes, and I do remember that some of my classmates were getting a little bit fed up with my best friend and me going around going.
Oh
So
my God,
in the end, of course,
yeah.
you just get on with it. We were what, eight
Yeah.
8 years or so, 8 years old, 9 years maybe max. So but it was that almost like the opposite, where we came from such a good teacher, so it wasn't just a loss, it was also the loss in terms of not having a good teacher
Yeah.
next yet, because no one liked him. And that was one of the things that also tied the class together, that we were jointly in
Mm.
saying, this teacher doesn't work for us, it
Yeah.
is not a good thing that we're being taught by him, and so he moved to a different class. Yeah, but
Yeah.
long story. But and I hope he did well. You know, I mean, we were young, and so on. Young people can be really hurtful. I don't think we were, but you know,
Yeah.
you
Well,
just
even
never
going
know
through
when you
such
think back.
such a trauma at the time, I'm sure
Yeah,
that was influencing everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, okay, so now you're
So I think we got together closer. Sorry.
yeah. So, okay, and then you go through school, you get into technology, but there's some significant things that happen in your life that sort of
Yeah.
set you up, I think, for laughter, and why when you felt that calling, it also felt not just like a gift that you were going to share with the world, but a gift to yourself.
Mm,
What sort of
yeah.
happened throughout the next few decades of your life?
Yeah. So I lost my sister. I was early 20s, and I was very focused on my my career at the time, yeah. And she in 1990, it was a very, very short period of time. I think it was actually 89. She was finally diagnosed with MS, and then it went so quick. She died in 91, and it was one of these moments where it was so surreal. I was at work, and my manager said to me, "I think you should go home." And I was like, "No, I just need to work," you know. And you just sit there completely paralyzed, and like, oh my gosh, I never got to really fully develop that relationship I really wanted with my sister. She was my eldest sister. She was because I've got two sisters. She was what, 8 years older than me, and my other sister's 1.5 years older than me. So she was the eldest one, and I always wanted to be a lot closer to her than I was. And suddenly that opportunity just disappeared. So it wasn't just the grieving of losing that person in your life, but also the opportunity that wasn't to create that close knit family, which we did have, but I just felt there was always a little bit of a hiccup because I was like, when I think back to being a really young child, trying to, I want to be friends with them, and so on. I was really annoying and did all the wrong things. So I can understand why they're like, go away, go away. But so suddenly that opportunity wasn't there anymore, and it was a really weird thing because when the funeral came around and so on, and I was just stuck there, and I felt I couldn't cry, and you know, everybody was so like stuck in that disbelief.
Yeah.
So I don't remember a lot of tears in that funeral because you know people cry at funerals. Yeah, it's kind of what we do. And so a few months later, the guy I was dating, his brother had lived with MS for probably about 20 years or so. He was a an athlete, so he was in the what do you call it, the uh, for people with disabilities, sports with people with disabilities. And then he died a few months later.
Wow.
And that going to that funeral was like suddenly it just was, whoa. And then I just sobbed so much that people thought I was the wife of the guy who died. So I shouldn't laugh here, but it was like really surrealistic in many, many ways. Um and it just shows how different we grieve the losses. But one of the things as well, because both these people were young people, my
Yeah.
sister was, yeah, what was she, 31, 32, 32. And Paul's brother was, what was he? He was probably late 30s or so, 38 or something. So they were young people. And it just gives you a sense of like, this is not supposed to happen,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And when I think back and when I got into laughter yoga, which was 10 years later or 11 years later, I always thought, if only I had known
Mm,
how this could maybe have connected us and helped overcome some of those health challenges.
yeah.
But yeah, we go through the things we do for a reason, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so life changing when
yeah,
you lose people and they're so young and
Yeah.
you realize how close an age they are to you, or sort of when you reach
Mm.
that age and you think I'm now living longer than this person had a chance to live. It really it changes
Yeah.
how you live.
Yeah.
And you can kind of
It really
tell when
does.
you meet people if there's been those significant things because of how much they really show up to their life, how they
Yeah.
sort of let these things go that might come to people in their 70s and 80s if they're lucky enough. But, for some of
Yeah.
us, it's in our 20s, 30s, and 40s, and we let it go because we don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, I remember the moment where this is back in, when was that, in 2007, when I got that diagnosis as well, which I never ever thought in a family that you would, I mean, two people in the same family, it's like, what? Because you always hear, no, it's probably not hereditary MS and so on. But the consultant I spoke with back then, he said, well, you are in the same gene pool, aren't you? So you just never know how it affects you as a whole. And I remember telling my mom and dad of the diagnosis. It didn't mean that I didn't have the many relapses and so on at the time, and I didn't have a lot of signs and symptoms, and things were just, but I felt I needed to tell them. And I could just hear the silence, sorry.
Yeah. Wow. That must have been a very hard conversation.
You never ever want you never want your parents to hurt,
Yeah. Yeah. And you had been there through the loss of their daughter.
Yeah, yeah. And this is the thing, as parents, you should never ever outlive your children, should you? Whew, that got a little bit emotional there.
So then, okay, so you also had this information given to you. How did you then sort of sit with that? Because
Like this.
yeah,
I
sounds appropriate.
Yeah. Do you know what the thing is? That was in initial shock. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is because I I saw the scans and so on. I'd been looking at it because I'd studied anatomy and physiology through becoming a reflexologist a few years earlier, and I looked at all the different, how a brain looks when it's deprived of oxygen, when it's an MS brain, when it's this and that, and so on. And so when I saw the scans, the consultant didn't even have to say anything. I just knew, yeah, yeah, I know
Wow.
what this is. Plus, the episode that caused me to actually go for an MRI scan was I was seeing double, and that was exactly how it started for my sister. There, she started seeing double. It's the most, it's the most, it's the strangest thing to do when you're driving and suddenly you're like, why am I seeing two exits? It's actually quite frightening, yeah? Because that
Terrifying.
it just boom, happened, and so I went for the scan, and I knew it. Um, and it's that moment where, when he then said the words, of course, it's a different, it suddenly becomes reality,
Yeah.
other than having your own thoughts about it. So, of course, it was really upsetting, and I was trying to keep it together because my daughter was young, and you still have to do the school runs, as I'm sure you know. So in between picking up and dropping off at school, I would be crying solidly, or almost, yeah. And then after a couple of weeks where I'd been grieving, I thought, do you know what? This is exactly what happens. You're overly stressed and you worry and so on. And that's what causes you to perhaps develop more relapses in MS.
Mhm.
When you're overly stressed, then your body can't fight the relapses. So okay, let's do something. And I started the Telephone Laughter Club back in in those days, and it was really great because it was a platform for myself to have a structure to laugh every day. When you do New Year resolutions, I don't know if you've ever done it, but it's so easy to say, "Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that," and then you start out doing it, and then a few weeks maybe down the line is like, "Oh, I can't do it today," and then suddenly it rolls into the next day where you can't do it, and so on. So I needed a structure for myself to laugh every day. And by starting the Telephone Laughter Club, I always had to be on the call for people to be let in. Otherwise, they would just listen to la 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 la, the pause music. Yeah. So, yeah. So we laughed every day for the first year or so, and now we don't laugh on weekends, but
Yeah.
we still do it, and there are days where I can't do it, but it's been my structure for creating my own health and well-being. And
Yeah.
I've never taken any medication for any conditions other than like painkillers, yeah.
Yeah.
And I touch wood, I'm not being arrogant about it or anything, because things can very quickly change. I know that, we know
Mhm.
that, but it's been my medication has been the laughter. Uh,
Yeah, I love that. And
so
I want to share the telefilm laughter you were doing. It was just 10 minutes. Is that right?
yeah.
Which is incredible. So, I want people who've never done laughter yoga to know you don't need to laugh for a long time. It doesn't have to be an hour, or even half an hour. It's just you can be 30 seconds in
No.
the mirror and you get
Yeah.
those benefits.
Do you know what? So the reason I started is because it's been running since then, from 7 o'clock to 7:10. And the reason that was such a good idea was because it fitted in with the school run.
Yeah.
So I could get Karen in the bathroom, and then 10 minutes, ha 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 ha, ha, and then she was ready and coming out, and then breakfast and all those things. So really it just fitted my time and my structure and so on. And I know not everybody gets up that early, but it's also a way of ensuring that you're actually starting your day on laughter.
Yes.
Because if you say to yourself, oh, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do my things, and then for my lunch break, I'm going to do it, often things get in the way,
Yeah.
or when you come home, I'm going to do it when I come home. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's to start the day. So you bring that feeling of feeling great with you into the day, and everything you do, as you know, you do great when you're in a good mood, don't you? Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
so,
even if you meet obstacles, you deal with them slightly different, don't we? Don't you?
yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay. I was going to ask you something along that line, which is, have you seen yourself change because you have these intentional laughter moments in your life? Maybe you don't notice that you're laughing more, but yeah, you're handling frustrations differently. What are some ways you think that laughter has led to other benefits in your life or changes in
Oh,
character even?
apart from health, definitely mood and how to deal with all these upsets and so on when you have a teenager. And,
Yeah.
and yes, do you know what? It doesn't mean all these things go away. And I throw tantrums too and have days where I'm just like, oh. But the key thing about it is, with this practice, we have a way of snapping out of it.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, enough is enough, and then we can go say, okay, let's do something else, and we shift it and we do something else, whether we're physically doing something or we're just going. And this is
Yeah.
what I say to people who say, no, I don't want to do fake laughing. The thing is, what came first? Anybody can say ha 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 ha. And when you do that, our lips turn up, yeah.
Yeah.
And as you know, it creates that connection with the pleasure centers in the brain, and that's really what is bad.
Yeah.
The same with, when we're doing this, ha 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 ha, ha, connects with the influx of our immune system cells, and that's really what it's about as well, because in MS the immune system cells are attacking your central nervous system, your brain cells, and when you are laughing and releasing more of the lymphocytes or immune system cells, then you're releasing or producing healthy cells that are going to get rid of those that attack your system. And that was kind of where I was coming from as well with it, that I wanted to really create that strong immunity. And yeah, laugh
Yeah.
along the way, even if it meant that, if it just spit it all up. I didn't know, because I didn't get any answers when I was asking around, and
Yeah.
because I asked different people what happens when I laugh and produce more of these and so on. And it was, what, 4 years later, I spoke with a neurosurgeon from London, and I asked him the question, what happens? And he said exactly that thing about, when you're laughing and you're producing more immune system cells, they're healthy. So
Mhm.
chances are they're going to attack the ones that attack you and
Yeah.
get rid of them instead of making it worse. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just a theory. Mm,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of why I'm doing this podcast is
mm,
I recently heard the idea around we've spent so much time, centuries really studying depression, anxiety, all the things that are negative because we
yeah.
want to solve them. But we haven't spent a lot of time studying laughter, which could be preventative or even help with some of the ailments. And so I want to find all of the people all over the world who are studying laughter, who have experienced it,
Yeah,
have their own, stories around how it has helped to heal or improve their life, because
yeah,
I think that it's part of the solution to all these other challenges that we have. There's a book you might find interesting I'm reading right now called The Grieving Body. And actually, the author talks about how when we're going through, big moments of grief, it can sort of turn on some of these precursors to things like MS or other things in our
yeah,
body, because our immune system is just really going through a lot. We have a lot of inflammation when we're in grief.
yeah.
Heart attacks go up the moments after we've lost someone significant, and all
Mm.
these things are tied together. Um, okay, so you start laughing. You start having these regular goals. How did that then become what it is today and what you're doing with United Mind? I mean, you're going into corporate spaces, you're training laughter leaders.
Mm.
Um, what was kind of what kind of got
Do you
you
know
there?
what? Yeah, do you know what? It's a good question, but it actually started way before that because I, so 1999 and 2000, the World Laughter Day that rocked the whole laughter world. Yeah, it was just a epidemic, by the way. But so I loved it so much. So my friend who had organized it, I asked him to come. I was organizing a theatre day for children in my part of the Copenhagen, and I asked Jen to come and run a session there. It was just a little session because there weren't many people who were interested in doing it, but it was great. And I still thought, I want to do this, even if we were only like 8 people or so.
Yeah,
And but then sometimes life just happens, yeah.
yeah,
And my life changed, and I moved to the UK. Just cut a long story short, yeah. Moved to the UK, and I was still thinking, I want to start something with this. And there wasn't any training around, so I kind of now it's my turn to pester Jan and say, how do I do it? What do I do? And so on. So he connected with me with my Dan Kataria back then, and back then the training wasn't as structured, not as it is now. But Madan said to me, just read the books and watch the CDs or DVDs, I think it was back then, or the videos, I think it was back then, yeah. And I did, and I thought I could do this. But because there wasn't any training available, I thought, what can I do then? And that's where I became a reflexologist and studied anatomy and physiology, and I became a crystal healer and a Reiki master trainer and EFT practitioner, and you name it. I did all this. And then I did feel, because I started my business in 2002 with all these therapies and personal laughter and so on. And in 2003, I started running corporate workshops because I thought, I can do this. I read the books, I can do this.
yeah.
And I thought at the time, I thought, well, somebody started somewhere. Someone started everything without having the training to start whatever that was. So I thought, yeah, I can do this.
I love it. Those are the best moments when you realize
Yeah.
every course, everything that's being taught to
Mm.
you, someone just started. Someone just
Yeah, I
collected.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that, and I did a lot of corporate workshops. But the reason I started the Telephone Laughter Club was because I didn't laugh every day. I laughed when I ran the laughter club once a month and when I was
Yes.
booked for workshops and so on, but it was maybe once a week. So I didn't have that structure, and that's why I started the Telephone Laughter Club in eight, I think it was, yeah. And of course, in the meantime, I started teaching leaders, and when I started teaching leaders, I thought, I love this because this is how we're going to branch out. This is the people who are going to be the next generation. Well, we're all the next generation. We really are, yeah. But we're going to be the people who together are going to spread it so it covers all of the UK and into Europe and so on and so forth. And very soon after I started asking Madan, I want to teach teachers. Can I be a master? It wasn't called master trainer because it wasn't a concept at that time, but I kept asking. And finally in 11, he said, okay, you can start the training now. And I became a master trainer in 12. And it's a really big privilege and a real sign of trust and so on in my abilities to share laughter, I suppose. I really appreciate that gesture to make me master trainer. And I love it. I love teaching the 2-day training, the leader training, and even more so the teacher training. But both of them tie in so well that, it's just a journey. And it really is a journey from when you first experience it till that moment where you decide, I'm going to help people see this. I'm going to help people take on that bit, whether they go and start laughing every day or whether they just in that moment think, wow, this has changed something inside me. So I'm going to go and respond differently to life or to different things that happen, because things happen in life, don't they?
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
I can't even imagine the moments that you've had over all of these times with people. Is there a story that you always remember so fondly about laughing with a certain group or a certain individual and maybe seeing that transformation in them?
Do you know what when I look at, because sometimes I sit and I look at the pictures, and because I use some of the pictures for my newsletter monthly, yeah. But I look at the pictures and I think, oh my gosh, I remember this. That was so funny, and those moments. But I tell you what, there was a moment. This is up. So I'm in southeast England, yeah. And up in northwest, you have Manchester. It's about 3.5, 4 hours drive from me. And there's a huge big shopping centre called the Trafford Centre, I think it's called, yeah. And do you know it?
Yes.
Okay.
I had some times there at one point in my life. We'll have to talk about off air.
Yeah. So it's an amazing place. And I was there like late in the day. I think it was a weekend, and they were closing up the centre, yeah, all the shops, yeah. And there's a square there, like a big square where there are plants in the middle or something like that. And I was walking on one side, and then I heard this voice across the square going, Lotte! And I was like, who do I know? I don't know anybody here. And I looked and I thought, someone with purple hair. Could be a beanie, but I think it was hair, yeah. I thought, I don't know anybody in Manchester with purple hair. So I was like, yay! I said, Lottie, you changed my life. I was like, oh, thank you for saying that. And then they were gone. And I still don't know who it was.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's so beautiful.
It's like, oh my gosh. But those, there are probably many, many people you never ever hear from. And it's probably the same for you.
Mm.
Um, I, I remember having someone in the laughter club once, and he was diagnosed. I don't think he was old. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and he said he wished the laughter club would be running more often than every month, once a month, because whenever he was laughing in the laughter club, his face would relax and the muscles would move much, much easier. And he couldn't quite get that by himself. Because in Parkinson's, people develop that mask type of face where the muscles go stiff, and this really helped him. So he got me involved with Bedford Parkinson's Society, as it was called back then. And there was actually a gentleman in a chair, because it was quite advanced Parkinson's. And I remember one of the sessions I ran there, and there was a big gentleman in a big armchair, and he sat there, and some of them were moving around, some of them were sat, and I encouraged everyone who could move to interact with everybody else. And I was going up to this gentleman, and I was saying, and I was just laughing with him and touching his head, as you do, because he didn't move, yeah. And afterwards, I heard two of the staff saying, "Oh, did you see him?" And I was like, what do you mean he didn't move a thing? And they said, oh, when you know him, you can see the sparkle in his eyes. And it's just those things. And it really taught me a valuable lesson in never, ever judging what you think that people get from it, because you may be in for a surprise. Yeah? And the thing is, some people may be disruptive and so on, but when they go away, they may give you some really kind words saying, I really enjoyed that. May have been because they were disruptive, who knows? But again, it may be that they got something that you didn't even think they would get.
Yeah.
So I really learned that about never ever judging what you think people get. And what it brought along with it was Never get upset if people are disruptive. Never, we're the leaders of it. We're the facilitators. We're the ones who create the structure within that group, and kind of holding back people and so on, and helping them find that spark within themselves. Because I'm sure you've heard also people say, so are you going to make us laugh today? Or are you
Yeah.
going to tell jokes? Or,
Or
all
just one
this.
of these people who's just like, like they're not going to participate.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, you are in your mission, you are on your mission. What do you see for the next, few years for yourself and the work that you're doing? Are you looking for more leaders to join you in your work? Because you're only one person. I can't even imagine how you show up to all the things.
I know. My mission has always been, when I started teaching, it became that, we could do this together. And I don't want to create people's businesses for them, but I want to help them get out there. So it was always my mission to create so much laughter work. So I couldn't do it all,
Yeah.
but other could do it for me. So, so we work together, and that's still what I'm aiming to do. Before the pandemic, it kind of happened.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit. And I think it was tough for a lot of people,
Yeah.
including my own business and so on. But before the pandemic, that was what was happening. I ran in 19, I ran, 175 workshops myself.
Okay.
And I gave out about 90 workshops to people who went and ran them for me. So it was getting to where I thought, this is my dream come true. Yeah, I want to work together. And I believe that this year is all about, it's a brand new year, and it's for those who believe in numbers and stuff, the 2026 is a number one. So it's new beginnings. And I believe in collaboration. And that's what is starting out with. It's really big. And it's not just in the UK, but across the world. We need to work together. If we want to make this work, we need to work together. Absolutely. So that was my political speech.
I love it. Well, I mean, laughter is about world peace, right? There's a part of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so one question I ask, I can't believe how fast this went.
Oh my God.
But can you finish this sentence? Laughter is what? Laughter is, if you could finish that sentence.
Laughter is life-changing.
Oh, I love that. Thank you
You can
so
also
much.
say laughter is love. Yeah. I mean, we let go of all the differences, don't we?
Yeah, it's, you know what? Laughter is love. Laughter is the
Yeah.
sound. It's a sound of love, one of the sounds of
Yeah.
love. Well, thank you so much. For all those who tuned in today to this double podcast, may this ripple into your day, remind you that laughter is accessible to all, and that there are people like us out there who are willing and able to laugh with you, and we hope that we find you.